He takes the stage as our moderator. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. With your permission, Your Excellency, I would beg to stand on the already established protocol. As introduced by the Master of Ceremony, my name is Jafar Abubakar Umar. I'm the Director General of the Nigeria Agribusiness Group, the foremost platform for agribusinesses in Nigeria. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to be present at this very historic event. I had listened attentively, sir, during your fireside chat, and I must say, as an advocate for agribusiness, it was music to my ears to hear that a lot of the markets that were closed down are now open. It was music to my ears to hear a lot of the reforms put in place by His Excellency's administration to support the growth of agriculture and agribusiness in Katsina State. It is then our esteemed pleasure to also contribute our own quota by ensuring we direct, because we do act as facilitators for agribusiness in the country, to direct and support the attainment of agribusiness investments in Katsina State. So, Your Excellency, do count the Nigeria Agribusiness Group as a worthy partner in this very important journey. Today, I am joined by a team of very, very esteemed panelists to discuss agriculture, especially as it affects Katsina State. I know in the room we have a caliber of investors from different sectors, but agriculture remains the mainstay of our economy. It remains the largest employer of labor, and the individuals we'll be talking with today would provide deeper insights into some of the strategies and some of the models that would aid the improvement in agriculture and agribusiness in Katsina State. Without further ado, Your Excellency, permit me to invite the panelists to join me on stage as we begin to do justice to this very important topic. First on my list is a friend and a brother who has been making giant strides within the agri space as the GM of one of the foremost agencies for agriculture and agribusiness in the country. His wealth of experience is no doubt one area that Katsina State would benefit from. As a son of the soil as well, please join me in welcoming my very good friend, Dr. Nasser Ngawa. Please join me on stage, sir. A round of applause, please. Following Dr. Ngawa is also yet someone I hold in high esteem, well-versed, experienced, and someone who is passionate, not just about agriculture, but about Nigeria as a whole. Please join me with a round of applause to welcome Hajia Habiba Suleiman, Head of Strategic Partnerships at the TGI Group. Hajia Habiba, you here? Please, a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to support them as they come up. Next to Habiba, I will invite yet another friend and brother whose vision in agriculture is no doubt. During the days where we spent some time in Kaduna, his company was almost at every event, led every conversation because of his innovative model and his resilient planning in agribusiness. Ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, please welcome Sadiq Falalu, the CEO of Falgates. A round of applause, please. And last but not least, my apologies, before we go to the last. We've seen their commitment. We've heard their innovative plans for the state. It will be good to do a deeper dive into that conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming the GED of Abyss Group. A round of applause for him, please. Abyss Group. Thank you, sir. Finally, to give some perspective to the Katsina point of view, given that we have a team of investors also in the room, I would like to invite to speak from, as I said, the Katsina point of view, the policy, the agri-coordinator for the Katsina state government, policy planning and strategic agricultural strategy, to please join us on stage. Please, a round of applause for him as well. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us here. I would like to start with you, Mr. Sadiq Falalu. Now, as an investor in agribusiness, and as someone who is no stranger to Katsina State, can you tell us, from your perspective, a commercial agribusiness operator like yourself, what are some of the prerequisites that needs to be put in place that would encourage more investors like yourself to find Katsina as that logical destination to do business in agriculture?
Thank you, Jafar. Once again, my name is Sadiq Falalu. I'm the managing director of Falgates. So we're an agri-based company in Kaduna. We've been operating for almost a decade today, particularly in the rice value chain. No doubt, Katsina is it's home to agriculture. If you look at, generally speaking, Katsina, is a host to one of the largest agro hubs across northern Nigeria, or even Nigeria at large. Katsina is known to farm maize, millet, name it, a lot of crops, both cash crops and perennial crops. So if you look at the whole holistic sector in agric, right, you need to have safety first. Anything that there's no safety, it cannot work at all. So number one, I'm very glad to hear that His Excellency mentioned how they're doing a lot of things to work on the security structure in the state. And if it's not safe, people would not go to farms, not at all. So I believe that number one part in any place to have agric thrive, you need to have safety. Availability of land is another thing. We say a lot of times that we have available land, thousands of hectares across Nigeria. No doubt, yes, we do. But at the same time, if you look at those lands, we need to have accessibility to them. Perfect infrastructure, road access, network, and a lot of things that can get farmers to and fro to their farms. Moving forward a little bit, human capital development is other things. Like we invest a lot in the outgrower scheme, primarily, in the rice value chain and the maize. And today I would say that we have about close to maybe 5,000 farmers that we're working with. There are field extension officers that work with them. So you need to have access to all this information with those extension service workers working with the farmers, providing them with information to assist them, to help them, to cater to their needs. And no doubt, if you go a step a little bit further, when I was coming into Katsina, I noticed the Agricultural Mechanization Center on my left-hand side. farming at the day that we are today, we need to go beyond farming, you're harrowing your farm with cattle and no. There's a lot of access to mechanization, tractors, combine harvesters, yes. But those people using them, you need to train them as well. They need to know how to operate a combine. We run a farm mechanization service across Kaduna and other states across Nigeria, and we do trainings for our operators. We have to train them over time. We have to engage them to, put them in the place whereby they would understand how to run those machines. If there's a maintenance, what do they need to do? They know how to clean it up. We had an operator recently that put, was it engine oil as diesel? So if and how much does these machines cost? They cost millions of naira. So if you don't train people in all these sort of things, the accessibility to understand that human capital development is key. So I believe with Katsina as a hub within northern Nigeria, it's well placed, no doubt. We've been wanting to come to Katsina. Maybe this is an opportunity for me to express my interest. I heard a lot of investors had invested over 400 and something, was it billion or million? $1 billion. So consider Falgates is willing to do similar as well. Come in and put in our investment, no doubt. So Your Excellency, we're very happy to come in and play around the rice value and agricultural value chain. I hope this answers your question, yeah.
Thank you very much, Sadiq. Moving on quickly, Habiba. Now, I know the TGI Group is already doing something in Katsina, but following His Excellency's remarks today with the vision he has for the state, how can your organization, right, the TGI Group specifically, what approaches are you currently putting in place to ensure farmers in Katsina State transition from subsistence to more commercial agriculture while maintaining affordability and sustainability? Can you try the mic to see if it will work? Yes.
This works. Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, it works. Thank you very much. I think that's a very, very timely question. I love that you mentioned affordability and even sustainability, and in terms of, subsistence and scaling subsistence, eventually what happens is when you start to have surplus production, that's where scale starts to make sense. That's when value addition starts to make sense. So if your farmers are yielding better, it means that there's going to be beyond subsistence for only consumption. They'll start to say, oh, can I dry it? Can I store it, right? And that's where you can then say, oh, investors can say, okay, if I come in, I can get surplus that will feed my factory for the entire year, right? And so for us, and the model that works for us is that we know very well that for our businesses to be sustainable wherever we have investments, there has to be surplus production. That's why we actively engage and actively work directly with smallholder farmers to make sure that we're supporting for that production to be consistent, for it to be qualitative, for the yield to be consistent over time, right? And so that's what informs why we say it all the time that we do not commercially farm, because it's deliberate, that we understand that there's only so much you can do commercially. There's only a number of hectares I can cover. Even if I did 50K hectares, it's not going to meet my processing capacity. And so what makes sense for the long term is that you're saying that there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of farmers in that ecosystem where I set up my factory or whatever. Can I work directly with them? Can I finance production? And obviously, where it comes to that integrated ecosystem is where you're starting to look at, there's a market. I can guarantee offtake. I can tell these farmers that whatever you produce, I will buy it off of you. And so over time, if you have that long-term thinking, if you have that structure in place, it means you can finance production. There's an anchor. That, people like Falgates, for example, would offtake. And so for me, I think that is when we can start to talk about sustainability, right? And so again, in terms of what makes sense for affordability, is a question of what can they afford. And I think this is a very critical component of what makes for long term. That a lot of the times when we're talking about mechanization, a lot of people just say, oh, bring tractors and all the heavy equipment. And then you come back 2 years later and it's parked somewhere. Because we either could not finance fueling, we either could not finance maintenance, or we didn't even have the engineers on the ground to maintain it. But we're talking about real rural agriculture here. How are we deliberate enough to say what makes sense for this context? What is a machine they can manage on their own? What is an equipment that they don't need rocket science to manage and maintain? And so I think being realistic is very critical when we're having these conversations in terms of what is working for our own spaces, what is affordable, very important. Because again, if I finance something that they can't afford tomorrow and I exit, what happens? So again, for me, I think it's very important that when these conversations are happening, we're looking at the context where we're talking about, we're looking at the people involved, and we're saying what is a technology that can easily be mainstreamed. And so if you moved in with manual planters and said, oh, the planting you do, you're spending 20 hours, I want to make you 4 hours instead. It means I'm going to free up time for you to do something else, right? It means if I'm giving you threshers that are handheld, that are solar powered, you don't have to worry about electricity, you don't have to worry about fuel. And so for me, those are the kinds of framings that we need to have around affordability and what is sustainable for the long term. And so obviously for us, when we're engaging, like I said, with producers, with farmers, this is what informs our strategy, that it has to be long term, it has to be consistent, and as I'm doing that, I need to make sure their yields are improving. I need to make sure I'm mainstreaming all the improved knowledge that is happening, all the advanced research. How am I making sure that as a private sector investor in that space, I've got that responsibility to make sure the farmers that are playing in this space, they have knowledge, whether it's Oxford research, I can get access to that research, can I mainstream it to them, can I teach them, right? And so I think this is really that balance that we should all be aiming for, that the role that private sector has must be one that moves beyond just processing for profit to saying how can we be impact driven, how can we carry everybody along across the communities where we work.
Thank you very much, Abiba. Those are some very, very valid points, and I'm so happy that His Excellency is here. So on that particular note, I will move to you, Dr. Nga. You know, Abiba has touched on some key areas, and I'm actually quite interested to hear what NADF, how NADF is likely to come in if we're going to materialize the vision that Abiba has spelled out. You know, mechanization that is handheld, that is usable, that is solar powered. How can NADF partner with Katsina State government to sort of drive these sort of initiatives to ensure that the right farmers, the smallholder farmers that drive our agribusiness economy, sort of get access to all of this so that they can improve yield at the end of the day? Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jafar. I think maybe just for a little bit of context to answer your question is that the elephant in the room has usually been, or is typically, access to finance, right? If you don't have the finance, it will be difficult to purchase the right equipment you're talking about. It will be difficult to provide even the knowledge and technical capacity that the rural farmers need to have to graduate from being rural farmers to being SMEs, to being commercial farmers, and to being large-scale farmers. So the NADF, as a relatively new organization, is a direct policy response to making sure that that gap is being addressed. And what we have done after combing the landscape for about 2 years is to find out what the main challenges are, what the issues are around this access to finance. Investors here on the panel will tell you that, of course, agriculture is a risky business. There are issues around weather, there are issues around poor yields, and so on and so forth. So what we have been able to do is to design financial products that speak to those challenges. What you would see typically is that most of the banks in Nigeria, the commercial banks who are the drivers of finance, is that they do not fund agricultural projects. Beyond being risky, the finance is also not, it's not affordable. If you look at the market rates, the MPR, we're looking about 27% to about 30%. So the first product that the NADF was able to bring on board is a product where we are able to provide finance at 17.5%. Obviously, our sources of funds are from statutory. They're also from budget allocations. So there is some sort of flexibility that allows us to play below the market radar. The second sort of product is one that allows us to do what they call blended finance. If you take, for instance, a program, let's assume commercial farmers access some finance at 27%. Through the blended finance program, they are able to come and get that same 17%. By the time you add up 17% plus 27%, you get an average that is probably not commensurate with other climes, but definitely within the ecosystem of Nigeria is by far better than those commercial rates. And of course, the mandate also allows us to see where there are opportunities to catalyze finance and do exactly just that. So what we do is, considering that agriculture is risky, we are always happy to come in and put in what most of you would know as first loss capital. So that capital that needs to go into the ecosystem or the initiative or the project to make sure that the patient capital pays off over 5 years or so. So those first loss capitals, they include things like funding feasibility studies, maybe coming back down to the soil. I'll give a specific example. His Excellency earlier was talking about agriculture and some of the partnerships. We are one of those partners, partnering on a 50-hectare pilot farm in Sabke, where we are happy to crowd some investors, including OCP Nigeria, the Infrastructure Bank, Abuja, NADF, the state government, to come in and look at that 50 hectares and say, what is it that we need to put in to show that this could be done, even if we're not able to recoup our investment in year 1, year 2, we're able to recoup it in year 3, year 4, year 5. So those are examples of the first line capital losses that we do. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ngao. I will now move to Dr. Irima from Abyss Group. Congratulations, first of all, on your investment announcement. I think that's really something. His Excellency is seated right here. I want to use this opportunity so I know you've seen potential. That's why you're bringing in capital into Katsina State. However, we know nothing is perfect. So I want to give you this opportunity to talk about some of the infrastructure gaps that you think currently exists that would allow probably yourself and other farmers, whether smallholder or large, that the state government needs to pay attention to that can actually help in doing business in agriculture from your point of view.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Dr. Elias Sudashi-Panji, the Group Executive Director of Abyss Group. Let me first, before I turn to the question, let me first introduce Abyss. Within the last 4 years, we have established the first modern livestock processing company in Lagos. As of today, we are doing 200 cows daily. Now, for strategic reasons, and also to bring the processing facilities closer to source of production, we have commenced a mega factory in Abuja that by January or even before January this year, hopefully, it will be commissioned, where we'll be doing 1,000 cows a day and 3,000 goat and sheep put together. Is perhaps the most ambitious livestock project on the country. And further to this, the total investment horizon, both Lagos and Abuja, is in excess of $50 million. Now, it's no longer we are already here. We want to thank His Excellency for giving us the opportunity that signing this MOU this afternoon signifies something profound for Katsina State, which is the establishment of the first ultra-modern livestock processing company in the entire northwestern region. It will be a gateway for processed livestock for the entire northwest, and then Nigeria and Chad Republic, which are also neighbors to Katsina. And of course, I would like to also quickly commend His Excellency that before even the commencement of this project, he has started the goat fattening project, which we understand has covered close to 30,000 households so far. Now, that is the kind of preparatory arrangement that typically keys into the livestock factory once we start. Katsina is known to produce one of the best hides and skin in the region, and therefore is going to be an end-to-end facility that nothing is left to waste, from the meat to the skin to the blood to the bone marrow. Every single item involved will be properly utilized. And that is intended to create in Katsina State a region where we are looking at 5,000 to 10,000 jobs that this factory will create. And then now to address the questions. Your Excellency, I think, and of course investors that are here, what that means typically in practical terms is that we need people that can position in terms of logistics. Because once the factory is up, we will need cold chain vans, which of course the facility itself, we may not be able to provide all the requirements, and therefore that space is open, and sons of Katsina and anybody in this meeting, that is a huge opportunity. It's a gap already that is there. In terms of access, because again, the Katsina, the corridor for export, which I have mentioned, we are looking at it two ways. Nigeria and Chad is on the radar, but we are also looking at the GCC countries. And of course, with a functional airport in Katsina, and with somebody like our big father, Alhaji Mangal, who is in aviation, would like to see that aspect of cargo being dealt with, because it will solve, once we are able to resolve the bottlenecks associated with export. We need functional transportation facility for the road. Your Excellency, you are doing very well with RAM. Katsina State is one of the states that has been recorded to do well in the rural access road. So we want, again, more of that. We want that to be seen. And then, of course, cold rooms and chillers. Because I want to be as very practical as possible, so that as we leave this meeting, you'll be able to grab the one that you grab with and invest. Now, if once the factory is up, so it means there is an opportunity for cold rooms and then chillers. And then, of course, that goes alongside with ice block making, because in areas just to take care of the challenges of electricity. I understand His Excellency is trying to resolve that, but again, it is important that small businesses, the SMEs here, understand that once the factory is up, another major area of need in terms of this infrastructure is ice block making machines, because that you need that to refrigerate the product that will come out of the factory at retail basis. And of course, on the upper scale, those that can also afford mega storage infrastructures, fine, because again, the factory itself will not be exhaustive. And therefore, some people with the required capital can position and establish cold rooms so that once we process, once the storage facility in the factory is filled up, we can optimally utilize it. Now, in the grand scheme of things, the mega factory in Abuja will be the aggregation stage. So Katsina is already one, Plateau is upcoming, Adamawa is on the radar, Bauchi, a number of states like that. So we are trying to create a national grid of processing plants for livestock across the entire north, so that we will feed the entire southwestern Nigeria, the Lagos market and its environs, and then the eastern corridor, because these are two blocks. The ambition is that by the end of 2026, we want to stop carrying live animals from northern Nigeria to the southern part of Nigeria. So there is enormous opportunity that we have in terms of scaling of infrastructure here. I'll stop.
Thank you very much, Dr. Elias. So I'll move nicely to Dr. Suleiman. As the representative of Katsina State Government on this panel, I would love to hear just fairly quickly one or two key examples of successes, because you are the agri coordinator, of how you feel the state government is positioning itself to attract investors like the likes that we've seen on this panel, and of course those that made commitment this morning. So can you share additionally or re-echo the voice of His Excellency on what some of those initiatives are that you are currently putting in place in Katsina State?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. So the approach, development, research development in Katsina State, I want to say is holistic. In the sense that agriculture is a value chain. Take any value chain, look at it from the beginning of the chain, and find that the drive is taking each step, and step is making investment at each point of the chain. To give you an example, what you need to do when you set up the farm is to clear your land. That is why the state has done investment in that mechanization center that everybody is impressed about. So if you just take that mechanization center and look at how holistic it is, I want to tell the house that there's something for everyone there. For the large scale farmers and for cluster of smallholder farmers, we have a 400 number of them. But for the smallholder farmers that are working individually, that are operating on a half a hectare or less, or even 1 hectare, the state government has procured and also distributed thousands of tiller cows. So it's not just a tradition. That center is also investing in tiller cows. Also there is 1,000 hand-held multi-crop planters planting various crops that you just need to then break, and then you go into the field and plant small grains, small seeds from millet to sorghum, and up to the large ones including groundnut, soybean, and maize. And then to ensure sustainability, that center was built in Katsina State instead of the usual approach whereby tractors are imported into the country. In this case, the governor went and brought the investors that come to Katsina and set up an assembly plant and started assembling us with the hands of the Katsina State youths. Katsina State youths are trained in assembly, maintenance, and operations of these tractors, so that tomorrow we will not be lacking the competency and the capacity to operate and to maintain these machineries. So that is just at the beginning, at the land preparation. So we have covered what is called harrowing, when it is plowing, when it is reaching. The next item is the farmer will look for agro inputs. The state government has made a lot of efforts in procuring fertilizer, seeds, and other agro inputs. And this time, being the game changer, His Excellency makes sure that each input is taken down to the community level at zero cost for logistics farmers and at 50% of the actual market cost. So fertilizer has been distributed at each polling unit, not just at work or at local government or in the city, but it's taken to its farmers. Then we are making a lot of efforts in our community-based production. Instead of, because we know that no matter how good your land, no matter how perfect your machineries are, if the potentials of your seed is 1 ton per hectare, there is no amount of fertilizer that you put that will give you 2 or 3 tons per hectare. And we know that that is a very important missing link in agricultural development. And every year, people run helter-skelter at the beginning of the season trying to get improved quality seeds. So the state government has partnered with central seed council and other private sectors to make sure that farmers in the state are producing seeds. We know that seed carries more premium price even in the market than grain. So farmers are now making more profit. The margin has increased, and also the gap whereby farmers will be looking for seeds to buy is being closed. Moving on, I'm talking about the development. Now look at what is the next thing? It's agronomic practices. You have the land cleared, you have all the inputs available. One thing that has always been bedeviling agricultural system is the lack of extension agents. The FAO and other global players recommended about 500 extension agents, one extension agent to cover about 500 farming households. What is this going in Nigeria? We are talking about an extension agent responsible for 6,000, 7,000, 10,000, depending on the data you look at. With the NRLS, the board that will be modest will tell you about 7,000. Any extension agent in Nigeria is responsible for providing extension services to about 7,000 farmer households. I'm telling this out that the story is different in two states. The first thing is that 722 extension agents were engaged, converting them from local government staff to provide extension services, giving you 2 extension agents, 2 additional extension agents in each ward in the state. Because in the state we have 361 wards. So now we have 2. And these are fully equipped. Each one with a motorcycle, so that they can go around. So in terms of the knowledge of practices, the technology transfer, we are also covered. The next thing is when you go to the harvest. As I told you, the mechanization center is a full scale, from the planter to a region, so a harvester is included. To link up with what my brother the finance just said, currently as I'm speaking to you now, the two of the combined harvesters are on the sub-dam project that the state government is partnering with NADF, OCP and other partners. So part of the responsibility of the state government is to provide mechanism in that center. And the harvesters are already there. We have the figures that it's already there on the ground. So the whole mission, the state government is making right investments, right engagements, right efforts to make sure that everything is working. But you can't do it all. We all need to bring all these things together so that people can know that these things are happening, so that the farmers can be able to make sense. That is why the most ambitious achievement came in, talking about CASPA, the Katsina State Sustainability Platform for Agriculture. This is where every stakeholder, the farmer, the extension agent, the investor, the off-taker, the aggregator can go in and see what is the prevailing market price. The farmer that needs services, whether it is price information, whether it is technology, how do I get and everything, you log on to CASPA on a toll-free line in a research extension platform, and you'll be able to get services. If people that are willing to take up, if you need seed in Katsina, if you need to obtain sesame, or you need to obtain soybean or livestock products, you go to CASPA website, you log on, you see which local governments are producing tomatoes, which local governments have enough boats and sheep, where can you get where you can be able to bring up with the producers and other TPS. So this is just one aspect of the effort and strides that have been in the last 2 years. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Suleiman. Very, very comprehensive input there. So my questions now are going specifically to the investors, the private sector players here. In 30 seconds, if you are going to make one intervention in agriculture in Katsina State, so I'm referring to Sadiq Habiba and Dr. Ilyas, if you are going to do one intervention in 30 seconds, what would it be, and how do you think it will drive value to both Katsina State government as well as farmers or players within the agri sector in Katsina State? Let's start with you, Sadiq.
Habiba, are you a doctor as well? It's like everyone on my left hand is a doctor. So anyway, I think most importantly, I heard His Excellency mentioning that Katsina State presently has one-stop shop for investment, and within the crowd I can see a couple of people, including my younger brother Khalid and Alaji Gambo Hamza. When we went to Kaduna initially in investment, they were that one-stop shop for us. So you must have agencies like that to facilitate investment before I can even give you an answer. So no doubt, if you would look at anything, I'm of the opinion that you need irrigation. In farming, if you go around the world, I was in Brazil, I believe last year, and I met a young farmer, and her father was like, oh, this is a very young farmer, and she's only doing 1,000 hectares. Katsina has a lot of land. I'm sure the issue of insecurity, inshallah, will be a story that we'll tell our kids one day. So no doubt, if we can open up more land development, when we talk of mechanization, it's not all about tractors, combine harvesters, it's about land development as well. Excavators, bulldozers, leveling, scrapers. If we can open up a lot of land, do irrigation canals, I'm sure the people from Kano would attest. I read the report for Chiga Dam. It was built with less than 50 million naira, but people looked at Audu Bako as a madman when he was doing all those dams. But today, Kano is one of the biggest beneficiaries of irrigation farming. So holistically, if investment would come in the line of irrigation, be it flood irrigation, pivot systems, as the case may be, it would give up, or rather it would open up access to a lot of farming in terms of our yield. Let's assume we have not even improved on our yields. We're doing, the average rice farmer across Nigeria is doing 2.5 tons a hectare. So imagine if he can do twice a year, that would increase it to 5. And then, of course, you come in and improve other things. We're doing SRI 2030. It's systems of rice intensification. It needs less amount of water, but you still need that water to yeah. So I think that would be it.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, it works. I think that's a very hard question to ask in 30 seconds, I must say. But so for like I say all the time, surplus is what attracts investment for value addition, right? And as much as we keep just producing crops, we're going to be consuming them as they are. We need for value to be added. That's where we get premium. That's where we can export and earn premium returns, or forex if you like. And so for this production to happen at scale, like Sadiq said, we need to make sure production is happening consistently. We can't afford to just be rain-fed reliant. It means that we must be able to produce more than one crop in a year. Like NADF said, financing has to be affordable and cheap. And I must say, even 17% is expensive. It's expensive, to be honest, because you're talking about smallholder farmers that rely on one crop in a year, and that's what they survive on. And so if you plug in the climate change risk, you plug in disease, whatever it is, they may not even earn, significantly. And so financing has to be affordable, it has to be cheap, it has to be patient, it has to be contextual, where you understand that these are the risks in the value chain. And so I think very importantly, in addition to making sure that we're producing more than one crop in a year, there's irrigation that's easily accessible for everybody. Financing is available and it's cheap. We also have to make sure we're training these farmers. And I love what the representative of the state government said about what they're doing to help improve the extension services delivery. Farmers, a lot of the times, and Sadiq will tell you this, the difference it makes when somebody just does something minimal is significant. In rice, when you just space by a certain meter, it makes a ton of a difference. A lot of the times they don't have access to this knowledge. And so what really would make a difference is when we're deliberate to say, these are the people that are producing our food, can we make sure they have all the knowledge that they need? Can we make sure all the support, all the trainings, all the access to climate information, on time, real delivery? Because again, if they are going to be exposed to flooding and drought, they should know, they should plan, right? And so for me, it's how are we building adaptation and resilience into these value chains? How are we ensuring that we're able to help them yield better? We're able to help them access markets. And obviously, I'm going to close our markets, that you need to also structure them in such a way that they can access markets. and they are not, they are not at the mercy of middlemen. And that's where anchors come in, right? And so I think maybe the state government can help with that, where farmers can be clustered. So if an LGA is known very well for maize production, can we say this is the tonnage we're expecting per year from this place? Can an investor come and place a bet and say, when I come back, I can get X amount? Because to be honest, now we have a lot of factories that are operating below capacity because there's no raw material. And there's a lot of land, there's a lot of resources that can be put into production. And so for me, I think Katsina can indeed be the hub for production that can power processing in Kano, processing in Katsina, in Kaduna and other neighboring states. We can actually be that hub where you can get quality raw material, you can get it on time, you can get it all year round, and your farmers, and that's where you then start to optimize, because if farmers are getting better yield, they are expanding. So from 1 hectare, they'll do 2 hectares. To 2, they move to 5. And so you have that, what's it called, that trickle down where their livelihoods are improving, their kids are going to better school, they can access better healthcare, and all of that is then rippling across the economy. But for us, and we say it all the time, that there's only one way for growth and economic development is sustainable. It has to carry along the rural areas of the country. We have to make sure we're not just doing plans at the surface level. It must go down. It must carry everybody along.
Thank you very much. Dr. Elias, can we, in 30 seconds, if there's an agricultural intervention, which one would you do and why?
Well, I would just say that His Excellency should reinforce what we have started doing with the broad intervention. I'm also encouraging other people, our elder brother here, Dawal Hawal, is already doing something that those are the kind of things that will key into the facility that we have. Already, in addition to that factory, we are building a holding base of 10,000 cows and 20,000 goats and sheep, because the slaughter is going to be 1,000 cows a day and 3,000 goats and sheep. If you think we are joking, anybody who happens to be in Abuja should get in touch with me and pay a visit to the factory so that you see for yourself what we are talking about. So I'm encouraging that we deepen this issue of feedlotting and rearing livestock, because the market is being open. Generally, Your Excellency, we have found out that one of the ways of even tackling this issue is tackling processing. Because processing is at the center. Primary production, that's where you do the rearing and all of that. By the time, because in processing we go weight of the animal. And therefore, you cannot compare your own with the person that has been moving from one end of the continent to another. So at the end of the day, the economics of it that will drive this process. So if you are struggling for the sedentary lifestyle of the herders, the best way is processing that will drive it. To wrap up, I will still encourage that we do more in this feedlotting, because we are after the weight of the animal, and the processing capacity now is being launched that will accommodate. In fact, one of our nightmares now is from day one, once the Abuja factory opens, how are we going to map out supplies that will ensure that the supply chain will not be broken, to ensure 1,000 cows are available in the factory today? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. This brings us to the end of this panel. I hope it has been insightful. I hope the conversations that have started would not end here. We thank you very much for the opportunity, and we wish Katsina all the very best, and we will continue to play our role as best we can. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so very much. The panelists should please stand for a group picture. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together once again for this wonderful and insightful panel session. The panelists should please line up for a group picture. Thank you. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, yes, His Excellency to join the panelists on stage. I'd also like to invite the Honorable Minister to join them on stage. Thank you. Let me quickly recognize the presence of the National President of Nigeria Computer Society, Dr. Muhammad Suraj Aliyu. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Muhammad Suraj Aliyu, National President of the Nigeria Computer Society. We also have in our midst Ajia Amina Zayyana, the founder of Inner Will Foundation. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I also like to acknowledge the presence of the Special Advisor to His Excellency on Banking and Finance, Ajia Bilkisu Sulaiman. Excellency, before we move to the next and final panel, I'd like to use this moment to invite the Honorable Minister of State for Humanitarian Affairs to deliver a brief goodwill remark before we introduce the last panel. Please put your hands together and let's welcome Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu. Thank you very much.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Katsina State, Malan Dukko Umar Radda, because of time, let me observe the already established protocol. All thanks be to Almighty Allah for today. And then we must also thank him for making this day to be very fruitful. In fact, when I was posted or transferred from the Federal Ministry of Education, with what I saw, most especially as it relates to literacy rate in northern Nigeria, which is far below the national average of 59% to 60%. And then on arriving at the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, I studied closely the multidimensional poverty index result as it relates to Nigeria, finding that reality, over 60% of Nigerians residing in the northern part of Nigeria are multidimensionally poor. And this dimension includes their educational status, health, works and shock, and standard of living. I was really shocked, knowing that there is a lot and a great challenge ahead. But what happened today, I'm happy that I'm here, and I've witnessed a transformation in terms of reshaping the perspective of life in Nigeria, and that I quite agree that no one should be left behind, provided you have a leader who is focused and who is committed and transparent in his zeal towards improving the betterment and welfare of his people. And that's what I have seen today. Your Excellency, it is a pleasure to be here and honor that I'm standing before you to address this gathering today at the Katsina State Investment and Economic Summit. Our gathering here is not just to discuss future of Katsina State economy, but to review and shape the shape it. The theme, building the future of Katsina's economy, encapsulated our collective visions and commitment to transforming Katsina State into a vibrant hub of economic activity. To guarantee this, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, we must aim at having a transformative economy, an economic system that prioritizes sustainable development, social equity so that no one will be left behind, and human well-being alongside economic growth. This therefore calls for a fundamental shift from how economies are traditionally structured and function to a one driven by technology, innovations, environmental concern, and social need of the people of the state and our nation. And I must say that from what we have heard today, all what I've mentioned now has been adequately taken care of. To me, this summit just reflects a review of the achievement and development of the Katsina State government as at where we are today. And therefore, we have already laid the foundation. All that it means it's just to walk the talk which has been also commenced. I must, at this moment, thank and congratulate the people of Katsina State. You have demonstrated that nobody needs to come from outside to build the state for you. You are ready and you are committed to that. Out of the over 400 billion that has been so far generated, 80% are from the sons and daughters of Katsina State. I think you deserve applause for all of this thing. Your Excellency, moving forward, which you have already done so much, but I need still to reiterate that we need to address the following for us to have a better future of Katsina's economy. The economy must be sustainable, reducing environmental degradation and promoting eco-friendly practices. Your Excellency, as of today, mining is getting ground. As we are fighting with deforestation, mining activities that are based with much or no need assessment and impact assessment is further worsening the deforestation status of Nigeria. Economy of the future of Katsina must be inclusive, ensuring equitable access to resources, opportunity, and benefit to all stakeholders, including those with people of concern, the women, children, elderly, and people living with disability. And it must also incorporate innovation, leveraging on technology and new business model to drive positive changes. It must also be resilience to absorb shock. We have seen how countries, during and aftermath of COVID-19, how economy got down to shamble when the whole world was put under lock. Most economies that initially were presumed to be resilient got disproved along the line. So we must build resiliency in our economic decision. This will enable us to create a more equitable, sustainable, and resilient economic system that benefits both people and the planet. While congratulating Your Excellency and the people of Katsina State for organizing this commendable summit, let me emphasize that building Katsina's future economy is not just a slogan as earlier mentioned. We must therefore walk the talk, and it has started and must be sustained. Katsina State is blessed with vast agricultural land, rich cultural heritage, and a vibrant entrepreneurial spirit. However, the state also faces challenges that hinder her progress. To overcome those challenges, we must adopt a multifaceted approach that prioritizes innovation, inclusivity, and sustainability. It therefore becomes necessary to state and overemphasize that we must prioritize agricultural development. And I must say, and must confess that Your Excellency, your scouting for talent is really second to His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. I've seen a young chap. I'm sure by age I might have this thing, but the stock, commitment, fashion displayed, knowledge, and resiliency to stand at any time to address and stand for the state has been displayed. I must congratulate you for doing that. There is therefore the need to invest in irrigation system as mentioned, modern farming techniques, and value-added processing to boost productivity and create jobs. We must also have an economic diversification so that rather than being agriculturally based economy, we must also add other aspects of our business such as tourism, solid minerals, but we must also make it to be environmentally friendly. This I must keep on emphasizing the fact that we have seen what the climate change has resulted to us. Just a single rainfall in Niger State, in Makwa, was able to cause us to lose hundreds of lives and with a lot of devastation leading to serious economic loss. So our economic plan was therefore address the current and the future concern of our climate change. Infrastructural development, Your Excellency, this we must have to also commend you. So many roads were opened, villages were opened. But most importantly, Your Excellency, is on the human capital development for rapid economic growth. You have invested so much in education. You have renovated, constructed over 70 secondary schools, with 15 being a mega school. Your Excellency, the emphasis must be on education of the moment. And it is the education that consider the STEM education that address the science, technology, education, mathematics for the future development. We must also pay much attention, Your Excellency, in sponsoring young talent, just as you have seen, to address the issue of the current education modality in AI and information technology. Otherwise, all our investment may not tally with the current best practice globally. We must also address the issue of, therefore, vocational training becomes necessary. Investment in healthcare to ensure that we have a healthy and wealthy youth and elderly must also be given consideration. I've seen your input in reducing the cost of dialysis in the state in tandem with the agenda of Mr. President. We must also be, we must promote our investment. This is one of the aspects, promotion of investment. Your Excellency, much has been done, but less is being said to the world. And therefore, you must open up Katsina State to the world to know what you are doing, to attest to your achievement, to know that a lot of foreigners are in Katsina State investing and living well without any intimidation or harassment. And billions of naira they have so far invested is also safe and under their control. Therefore, we must move forward to market Katsina State and market Nigeria to the world in order to counteract the negative assumptions of our enemies. Much has been said, and you have emphasized on the security, but the other one is the private sector engagement. I'm happy today, virtually, unlike summit being dominated by academicians, who I'd say I must also respect them in terms of everyday research to make us have a best practice. But this summit is walking the talk. Investment, hearing what we have on ground, also telling you their demand, and you are ready to act to meet to their demand so that the state will be open up for competitiveness in addition. You have already deployed and engaged in technology, innovation, addition. But I must say, in every development, for our ministry, humanitarian affairs and poverty reduction, we are always ready to protect and promote the welfare of poor and vulnerable. Therefore, Your Excellency, whatever is going to be done to liberate economy in Katsina State, there must be a strong social safety net program. They need to have a strong and efficient safety net program that has the capacity to protect poor and vulnerable households cannot over be emphasized. And let me say that His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, considering the role of Katsina State, has saddled the Katsina State with responsibility of National Social Safety Net Program of Mr. President. The national coordinator is a son of Katsina State, Professor Badamasi, who will have been here with him if not for official engagement. The national program manager for National Contingent Cash Transfer Office, Mala Abdullahi Imam, is also a son of Katsina State. I therefore believe that that's why when we some weeks ago, we are here in Katsina State to disburse funding from the Presidential Conditional Cash Transfer Program. The renewed conditional cash transfer of the federal government under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR has so far reached to 1,222,615 indigents of Katsina State as beneficiaries, with the first, second, and third tranches of 25,000 each at a 3-month interval, which is running to over 30 billion to this state. This has not only provided a relief to beneficiaries, but also provided them with financial inclusion, because each and every beneficiary has his own account number, and he also has his NIN number and also bank verification number. The Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program of Mr. President is set to disburse a sum of 30,000 interest and collateral-free loans to 21,000 smallholder farmers beneficiaries throughout the country to support dry season farming in order to mitigate the effect of flooding in the immediate past wet season farming. The Federal Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Poverty Reduction has also commenced a Skills to Wealth program targeting youth to train and build their capacity in agriculture, automobile, and renewable energy. Training were conducted in the 6 geopolitical zone of the country, of which Katsina State also benefited. Additionally, durable solutions, just as you have done in the Jibia by constructing 140 housing units for internally displaced persons, a durable solution for the internally displaced person is ongoing. Few months back, Her Excellency Distinguished Senator Olurome Tinubu commissioned Olurome Tinubu Resettlement City in Nasarawa State. Construction of similar facility to cater for the internally displaced person in Daura has reached an advanced stage. In conclusion, Your Excellency, the future of Katsina economy must be based on multifaceted approach that prioritizes innovation, inclusivity, and sustainability. The political will of the current administration of yours to build the economy for the future has to prioritize security and stability as a component of development. Addressing the state human capital development through functional education and sustainable health coverage is not only an option, but mandatory.
A 2-minute exercise with our audience so that we can refresh the atmosphere. With your permission, sir. So can you please, the audience, join me to stand up? Let's just do one quick exercise. Can we stand up? Everyone in the audience. Okay. So His Excellency decided to join us as well. Thank you very much. So this is what we are going to do. I'm going to count from 10 down to 1. And for every even number, you clap times the number of that even number. And for every odd number, you stomp your feet like this. So I'll give you an example. If I say 2, then you clap like this. 1, 2. And if I say 3, then you do 1, 2, 3. Are we clear? So, 10. So, that was 11. All right. 9. Okay. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Please put your hands together for yourselves. I believe we are refreshed now. Right. So we are going to go into the last panel before we listen to a special address by the People's Governor, His Excellency Malam Diko Maru, the PhD CON. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege and honor to invite Mrs. Barbara Barungi, who is the managing partner, Imara Africa Consulting. She's going to be taking the panel titled Open for Business, Creating an Investor-Friendly Katsina Through Reform and Innovation. Please put your hands together for her. To join her on this panel is the Director General of Katsina Investment Promotion Agency, Alhaji Ibrahim Tukurji Kamshi, DG Keeper. This is the panel on ease of doing business and innovation. Next, I'd like to invite Abubakar Lawal Musa, the co-founder and executive director of finance of Constrix. Please put your hands together for the young CEO. Well, not that too young. You know, they say 60 is the new 40. All right? Then I would like to introduce Abdul Malik Mahdi, MD, Modern Shelters. Abdul Malik Mahdi, MD, Modern Shelters. And let me also invite Foyin Sholami Akinjaiju, CEO, FNA. I also like to invite the chairman, Continental Group, Alhaji Salisu Mamman, who is also the vice chairman of the board of Katsina State Enterprise Development Agency. Please put your hands together for, yes, on the panel, sir. Thank you. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the title for this session is Open for Business, Creating an Investor-Friendly Katsina Through Reform and Innovation. Over to you, Barbara Boringi. Thank you.
I'd rather use this one. They haven't been working properly. That's why. It's working. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, great. Thank you. It's an honor to be able to moderate this panel with our esteemed panelists. Listening to the deliberations this morning, the summit provides a platform to showcase the strategic advantages of Katsina. Okay. And showcases Katsina State as an investment destination. So the best way to start is with the DG of the Investment Promotion Agency. And Katsina State is open for business and partnerships. That's the mantra of your administration, and that's what we've been listening to since we came for this summit. Could you then just highlight some of the key reforms that you have implemented for ease of doing business? So basically take us through a journey. Say Barbara comes in, I want to set up a business in Katsina. From point of entry to operation, what have you done and what do you foresee doing to enhance businesses in Katsina?
Thank you very much, Barbara. As we have been saying in the morning, and as my governor has already, in his eloquent manner, explained, that the reforms that we have in Katsina are really in terms of processes. All those agencies and MDAs that has to do with direct investments have streamlined their process, and the new agencies has been introduced. Let me say this now, for instance. Agencies like KAGIS, Katsina State Geographic Information System, has been established. And the important thing there is, one, all the process of obtaining certificates of occupancy have been digitized and archived too in a digital manner. Two, the process has been streamlined in terms of step-by-step. Today in Katsina, if you want to obtain a CFO, provided you have given all the necessary requirements, it is just 45 working days. The next one is when you obtain a CFO, the next level you move is how to have a building permit. The building permit process too has been digitized. You can even apply online with Urban Regional Development Planning Board, and their process has been streamlined into just 5 stages. And you can obtain a building permit in Katsina within 1 week. 3, the Bureau for Public Procurement too is not left behind. Their process, 1, in terms of contract registration, in terms of tendering, in terms of no objection process, have been digitized and have been streamlined. For contractors to register in Katsina, they only need 3 days. and you can apply through their online, they have a website. Now, the next one is, after all this, there is internal revenue. The internal revenue, of course, His Excellency has already mentioned that it has been automated. It is omnipresent. You can pay from wherever you are. Mr. Brian, you can pay from India, you can pay from UK. And it is online. I know you have even tried that, you have seen that. If you have staff here now, they can walk you through, you can pay that. That is absolutely up to you. Now, these are some of the key reforms. But major reforms, like His Excellency has mentioned earlier on, for instance, establishment of Katsina State Enterprise Development Agency, the entire agency itself is a reform because it takes care of the MSMEs. The Katsina State Department of Directorate of Information, Communication and Technology too is a reform that is now easing the government process all over and is equally computerizing those processes. Of course, once processes are computerized, people go and take service of whatever, not necessarily business, even though normal services are, of course, a reform process. Of course, you have heard that in the morning, that there is even a whole department as a reform department, and it's been handled by highly competent technocrats who has introduced several changes. In fact, especially, maybe I'm sure, maybe His Excellency will now say, even promotion now, in Katsina you go through merit and credibility so that you put square head in the round, whatever you do.
Thank you.
Now, how do we put an investor through? Investors normally applied either online to us or they come in office. Sometimes we equally solicit, but when they applied, we screen the application, we put them under due process, due diligence. We looked at what they require. Sometimes if you chat with them, it's quite different from what they even have written to you. We now put them through pre-feasibility study to feasibility studies and then define exactly what they want. Sometimes you see somebody come in, his requirement, if it is for land, may not be more than 1 hectare or half hectare, but he will tell you he needs 20 hectares because he has not done the due diligence. Okay. So we put him through that process, and then we will now put him through the process of obtaining all the necessary permits within the states. Of course, we have a one-stop shop in Katsina State Investment Promotion, and our one-stop shop is even 2 layers. We have one with the states, ministry and agencies, and then we have one with the federal agencies that have to do with business permits as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I'm sure that those of you who are looking to investing in Katsina, you realize there is a one-stop shop. One of the things that I would suggest to the government is perhaps to look at the TAM app that's being used in Abu Dhabi, whereby there is really no need for any physical contact, as in, on my smartphone, I should be able to go through all those processes to open a business in Katsina. So moving on, let's look at youth sports development as investment in talent. Across Africa, you find that this is a very noble idea, but it's quite difficult to attract investors because they find it a very risky venture. So what innovations can you put across to make would-be investors comfortable that it's not that risky and that it's long-term and it has the right valuations? And what would you suggest for Katsina? Thank you. You can use your mic.
Thank you. So, before I get into your question,
please try and be quite brief. I think the governor needs to move on.
Yes,
so,
yes,
yeah, thanks.
I will be brief, but before I get into your question, I just, because the entire thing, is focused on the ease of doing business, and I have a story to share about the ease of doing business in Katsina. Sometime in November last year, I met Alhaji Muhammad Dikoladon on a plane, and we just had a discussion, and he said, "You're a bright young man. I think you should meet the DG of Katsina Investment Development Agency." And we met on a Friday. He had a very tight schedule, but he gave me audience and we discussed. And he showed me how Katsina is ready for this investments. You know, he opened my mind to all of this, and about a year later, here we are. So, you know, I want to thank your agency. I want to thank Alhaji Muhammad Dikuladen. I want to thank the Commissioner of Sports and the Economic Advisor for making all of this possible. So in sports, you know, what people don't understand, you know, maybe because I am somebody who has played sports, who is an active follower of sports, it's an economic powerhouse. There's a lot of money in sports, from the revenue from TV rights to naming rights to advertisements. You know, so when you focus on building homegrown talents, building homegrown talents, there's so much money you can make out of that. You know, so what we want from the government, you know, is to support these initiatives, you know, back us with more allocation for sports projects, you know, and I think once people see that, the government is very, very interested in these projects, I think it will eliminate all the risk. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's turn to shelter and real estate development. And I'm doing this because this is all infrastructure related. For this kind of development, you need huge capital outlays. And one of the issues that, not just in Nigeria and obviously in Katsina, but a lot of countries are now beginning to ask, is there room for Islamic financing and PPPs in enabling quicker and much more agile financing for infrastructure and real estate? And in your response, I'd like you to be very specific to what openings you see for Katsina State. Thank you.
Thank you. So Islamic finance is actually made for infrastructure because it's an asset-based, asset-backed funding. Today in Nigeria, we have the last 10 years done a lot of sukuks, and each time a sukuk is launched, it is oversubscribed by at least 300%. The federal government has used it to build roads. There are a lot of federal roads when you are passing, you see sukuk 1, sukuk 2, sukuk 3. I think they are in their 10 or 11 series, and it is highly oversubscribed, which tells us that there is an appetite and there is money out there for sukuk. Sukuk is just a normal bond that you normally go and raise in the capital market. Now, the difference between the normal conventional sukuk and conventional bond and a sukuk is that the sukuk is guided by Islamic finance principles, which means that it must be used to produce an asset. So it has inherent governance structures in it. So it helps you ensure that monies are not diverted from what the intended purpose is for. There is also no harm because it's also guided, so it fits with all these green principles, the outcomes that we want to see in terms of human development index in our states. Specifically, I will give an example of how a sukuk was used by a state government in this country as far back as 2012. The Osun state government did an 11 billion naira sukuk. They built brand new schools, about 24 schools. With those schools, they got about 1,600 classrooms. In those classrooms, they had over 100,000 desks and other things like laboratories for those students. They housed 84,000 students. Within 4 years, their results, the outcome from their WAEC and SSC jumped from about 22% of their students that were having 5 credits in their subjects to about 44%. And that was tracked up to about 2019, before COVID. Of course, when you look at the school ecosystem, there are other things like teacher training and other facilities that come into it, but it shows you that the state government, especially at these times that, alhamdulillah, with the work that the president is doing, a lot of monies are coming to the state, it means that we can actually organize and build sukuks for long-term funding. And when you talk about real estate, we don't limit ourselves only to housing. You know, you have markets, we have other speakers talking about livestock investment. We have the dry port, for example. we have the sports facilities, we have hostels in our tertiary institutions in this state, we have hotels. There are so many things that are around real estate that it's not just about only housing, for example. So I believe that if the state can sit down and decide that Sukuk is a veritable source of funding, which it is, the monies are there, but the steps to get it, because when you are going to the capital market, you have to wait the fund, you have to do a lot of in-house housekeeping within the state so that you are attractive whenever you list your Sukuk, which will be oversubscribed. But definitely, with the population that we have in the state, with the level of infrastructure investment that's already been done by successive governments, because this is one state that, particularly from 1999, during the time of the late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua to date, has been consistently improving. Every government that comes tries to do more than what he has met on ground. So we have had over 25 years or about 25 years of consistent infrastructure investment. So this is time to use to raise money to actually impact and have outcomes for the next generation of Katsina State.
Okay, thank you. We all hope and look forward to Katsina State showing us good Islamic financing for infrastructure. It's not easy, but I think it's an opportunity that the governor and his administration should definitely look at. Turning to financial inclusion. Financial inclusion is an area that, in my opinion, is over-researched. I used to work with the African Development Bank, so it's something that I find that a lot of DFIs keep looking at, turning around, and I'm not so sure that we've made that much of a dent. Now, given that you have a state like Katsina State where it's looking at tech and innovation, how can we make financing for particularly MSMEs and women-led businesses leapfrog to the future without all the hurdles that financial inclusion services have faced? Briefly, please.
Thank you very much. First, let me start by saying I bring warm greetings from the city that never sleeps, that's Lagos, and especially from EFINA. EFINA, we are into research, advocacy, capacity building, everything to ensure that all Nigerians are financially included and economically empowered. And why is financial inclusion important? Because you said it's well researched. It's because there is evidence that shows that financial inclusion is the bridge from informal productivity to inclusive growth. This is an economic and investment summit. So if we're talking inclusive growth, you cannot achieve it without financial inclusion, meaning people are able to safely, conveniently, affordably access and use things like savings, payments, credit, insurance that builds their resilience at community, household, and the economic level. So when you say that it's well researched, but what can we do for Katsina State? I think the most important thing is without data, you're just another person with an opinion. So EFINA, we lead this process every other year. We have the access to financial services in Nigeria survey. We go to all 36 states and the FCT, tens of thousands of sample respondents, asking the questions, why are you using or not using financial services? What are the issues that we have found? The top 10, I will mention them very quickly, and what Katsina can do. There are things like low income, poverty, irregular income, trust issues. They don't trust the financial system. Their spouses don't consent, meaning there are gender norms that are adversely affecting women being able to take advantage of this. And then after cost, and then distance. People are saying access to financial services points is difficult because it is far. I don't have agents close to me. So if Katsina is going to leapfrog, it is to address these things. Number one, for MSMEs, I mean, the governor himself has spent, tremendous time in this space. He understands the issue. We need affordable credit on a sustainable basis. It's good to give grants and all of that, but for it to be sustainable, you need a process where these people can graduate from taking grants that are one-off to be able to stand on their own, to build institutions and businesses that can create jobs, that can move from grants to maybe zero interest loans to interest-bearing loans. Also, on the issue of distance, the government can invest in agent expansion, meaning we have people who don't have access in rural communities. Imagine if there were incentives for these agents to go into those rural communities and provide services, and at the same time onboard people into the formal system. They could also be the same people that you can use to expand enrollment for NIN or whatever. This is something that we can do for MSMEs. And on the issue of trust, we can encourage and get our religious leaders, community influencers to continue to pass this message across. And then the last thing I'll talk about, because there's so much to talk about, is on awareness. We can use what's called local languages to pass information to people so that they can understand that these are the ways you can get involved and be able to sustain and grow your business.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Now to the last panelist. Tech and innovation is something that I personally believe is the way that Katsina can actually become a trailblazer in northern Nigeria. Almost every other student that I have spoken to, this is my first time in Katsina, I've been here 3 days. Every other student I have met is doing computer science. So what is your key messaging in terms of how do we use these skills for development?
Yeah, as you are aware, I'm a digital entrepreneur, being the managing director of Continental Computers. And I know that while His Excellency, the Governor of Katsina State, is passionate, has been interested in furtherance of digital technology as a main driver of our sub-national and national and international economy. Because technology today constitutes significant concept of building blocks of the future. The building blocks of the future, as defined, are 7. I will attempt to mention just some of them. Infrastructure, technology, and innovation. His Excellency has, over these 2.5 years, invested heavily in technology and innovation. The DG Keeper has mentioned that His Excellency, more than any other subnational, has invested in packages. And this is an agency, a pivotal agency, that is driving the technology and innovation of Katsina State. At the same time, I want to say that within the short time or the space you have provided for me, I represent 2 interests. First, as an entrepreneur. The second interest I represent, I'm the Vice Chairman of Katsina, a pivotal agency His Excellency has created, has given birth to, and that agency is in charge of, like the Minister has said, poverty alleviation among entrepreneurs in Katsina State. That pivotal agency has provided seed funding to over 5,000 in a lot of adjectives that I use to describe His Excellency, the Governor of Katsina State, being my governor, being my leader, and being my boss, because he presides over the board of Katsina, of which I'm the Vice Chairman. That's why he's my boss. So I want to say that I want to use this privilege and opportunity to say that I have other adjectives today. I want to describe him. He is the Adam Smith of modern Katsina, because if you have
Thank you. So on that note, thank you.
As far back as 1773, wells of the nation. His Excellency has created wells among various entrepreneurs across different divides and spectrums. I want to say that unequivocally, His Excellency can be described as a governor without borders. He has intervened with the largest industries. He has intervened with medium industries. He has supported small industries across the spectrum of businesses in Katsina. Your Excellency and Honorable Minister and other distinguished personalities appreciate the fact that today's event
please
is a bureau. Whoever is in business in Katsina was here. Our most distinguishable personalities Alhaji Umar Mutalla, Alhaji Tahir Manga, Alhaji Dukulade, and my younger brother from Kamusa, and every other entrepreneur is in this room, and it sends a lot of messages. Most especially, it's also about people who are brothers that are coming to invest in Katsina. It's a hero.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. 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 Seriously, please, this is a panel session. I'm sure they can give you another opportunity to give a speech. Thank you very much. So, Governor, I think you have a new name. You're the Adam Smith of Katsina. And on that note, I'd like to thank the panelists. I just have one question each, apart from the last speaker. If you were to give the governor a spot-on advice, one thing that you think he can do to enhance business in Katsina, very quickly. No, excluding you. Next, Contrix, very quickly. No speeches, just very quickly. One reform that you think the governor should pursue. Just one. You have, I'm counting, 5 seconds, 4 seconds. Speak.
All right, so this is very impromptu, but I think I would say just, continue as you do, continue to support businesses, continue to give us listening ears, and continue to take our advice. All we can do, is give you advice and give you proposals. So continue to support us. Thank you very much.
Okay, next speaker.
It's difficult to find one thing, but I'll say that there's a graduation model from BRAC, Bangladesh. I think it's something that would be worth considering so that you can literally see the trajectory of businesses grow and you can measure that. And really, they are the best people to invest back into the communities and put less pressure on the government. So use the graduation model to see businesses grow, track that over time, and I think the government will be better for it.
Okay, the last one, beyond Sukuk bonds, joint ventures, there must be something else in Islamic financing. I'm putting you on the spot.
Let's reimagine PPPs, Your Excellency. Let's use PPPs to build out the economy. Let's do things that impact on human development. Let's build hospitals, let's build schools, and yes, let's use Sukuk to do these things. The present sector, JVs and PPPs, the way it is that government provides land.
I'm not giving him a chance.
The private sector
The governor wants to go.
and the business sector. It doesn't work anymore. And we have to reimagine PPP. So we need to sit down with Khalil, we need to sit down with the DG, we need to have retreats to reimagine as Adam Smith. We need to come up with
Just
new concepts of how to do this.
Because I'm going to use you. Okay, thank you very much. I'm under pressure here, and I'm handing over the mic. Thank you very much to all the panelists.
Okay, the panelists should stand for a group photography. And the Excellency would join them on stage, and also the Honorable Minister. Yes, the Adam Smith of SMEs in Katsina State. Exactly. Actually, the Alhaji Salisu Mamman was invited on the panel impromptu, and you can attest to the fact that it is well deserving to have him up there, because we know he will never run out of what to say. Thank you very much, sir. And speaking of His Excellency being a governor beyond borders, I think we've made mention earlier that he has continued with every project every governor have started, irrespective of the political party of that governor in the history of politics in Katsina State. So that also reaffirms the fact that he's actually a governor without borders. So thank you very much. Please, let's appreciate this panel. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are nearing the climax of today's event. But before I invite for the vote of thanks, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the chairman of the Nigeria Association of Small-Scale Industrialists, in person of Alhaji Abdullahi Ahmad Kofa Sauri, Your Excellency, permit me to, at this moment, invite our Special Advisor on Banking and Finance, Ajia Bilkisu Suleiman Ibrahim, to deliver her vote of thanks. Thank you very much.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Your Excellency, the Governor of Katsina State, Malan Dukarata, PhD CON. Your Excellency, the Minister of Humanitarian, Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu, you're welcome. Other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have spent the day discussing values, returns, and capital, but the greatest asset we have witnessed today is the overwhelming support of everyone present in this hall. First and foremost, to His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Katsina State. Your Excellency, we thank you for the political will that has made this summit possible. Your commitment to fiscal discipline and transparency has created the foundation upon which we can build a bankable state. Thank you for leading the way. To representatives of financial institutions, as a special advisor on banking and finance, I offer you my specific appreciation. Your presence here validates our financial ecosystem. We thank you for your willingness to partner with Katsina State, and we appreciate the confidence you have shown in the viability of our projects. To our esteemed investors and captains of industry, thank you for your time and your trust. We know that capital seeks safety and certainty. By engaging with us today, you have shown that you believe in the Katsina narrative. We thank you for choosing to be part of our future. To the organizing committee, partners, and the media, thank you for your tireless efforts in ensuring this event meets global standards. Distinguished guests, the state government values your presence, and we treasure your partnership. We look forward to having you again here tomorrow as we continue the commitment and discussion for building a Katsina for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That essay to His Excellency on Banking and Finance, Ajia Bilkisu Suleiman. We are here live at Continental Event Center, holding the Katsina Economic and Investment Summit, which is proudly supported and sponsored by KK Kingdom Group, Constrix, Fairmont, and also Rumba Industries. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time that we welcome the Adam Smith of the SMEs in Katsina State, the Nikola Tesla of the power and energy sector of Northern Nigeria, His Excellency, the Governor of People, Malam Diko Umarurada, PhD, CON, for his address. Thank you very much.
I think the organizers are very clever for keeping me at the last person to speak. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Honorable Minister of Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation, a very big brother, we appreciate you for standing with us from morning till this time of the event. We also want to appreciate all the distinguished from the speaker, all the distinguished personalities that have been with us in the morning till now, the representatives of the state governments that are here, most especially Yobe State, Kano State, Zamfara State, Kaduna State, and other states that are here representing their governments, the heads of various federal government agencies, the members of the State Executive Council that are here, one of our own, the national legal advisor of our party, Barrister Murtala Aliyu. We also want to thank all the captains of industries, major dignitaries, representatives of various organizations, the economic advisor, Khalil Nura Khalil, and the DG Kepa, Commissioner for Commerce and Industry, for putting up this together, and all other invited guests. But I would like to mention some of these organizations that are here. One of our own is Alhaji Umar Mutallab, who chairs a lot of boards. And then we have Mr. Brain, who is also here with us and since morning. Then our elder brother, Alhaji Muhammad Dukwa Adan, who is also here with us. We have Mr. Ago, who is a long-time friend of me in Global Innovation Learning Lab. Alhaji Ibrahim Mijinyo, Chairman of Sahad, who is also here. And also the constrict, Dan Musa and his team that have been with us, and then Alhaji Musa Inwa, Vice Chairman of Gold Energy. And I know that the Vice Chairman of the Genesis Energy, Mr. Melesa, who left South Africa to attend this event. And I also recognize all the panelists that have been on the stage. We thank you most sincerely for being with us. And every other person that I'm unable to mention, pardon me for that, and I appreciate all of you for being here. It is with immense pride and heartfelt gratitude that I stand to welcome you to this historic gathering, the inaugural Katsina State Economic and Investment Summit. Today marks more than a convening of minds. It represents a defining inflection point in the economic trajectory of the northern Nigeria, and indeed the Katsina State is not merely opening its door to capital, it is extending an invitation to partnerships, to share vision, and to collective enterprise. We invite those who see investment not solely as a financial transaction, but as a catalyst for human progress, those who believe on empowerment. Katsina State is a land steeped in legacy, a cradle of civilization where ancient city walls echo centuries of scholarship, trade, resilience, and ingenuity. Long before modern borders were drawn, our ancestors pioneered trans-Saharan African trade, established centers of Islamic learning, and cultivated agricultural system of remarkable sophistication. Thus speak the minds of our youth and the heart of our communities in one which Katsina State emerged as. A premium processing, strategic logistics and transportation hub, optimally positioned to connect Katsina with West Africa markets through enhanced road, rail, and cross-border infrastructure. A leader in renewable energy investment, harnessing solar, wind, and biomass potentials of power industries and communities' sustainability. A frontier of digital innovation, propelled by a dynamic and high-use population eager to build homegrown solutions for local and global challenges. A flourishing center for export-oriented industries, including light manufacturing, mineral processing, textile, creative art, and cultural tourism. The recent study has indicated that Katsina State has a very high deposit of gold than any other part of this country. What set Katsina State apart What makes this invitation uniquely compelling in our unwavering conviction that investment must be anchored in people. We are not offering you a market alone. We are offering you a mission to invest in communities that carry dignity, resilience, and aspiration, youth whose brilliance demand only opportunity to ignite, women whose entrepreneurial energy, security architecture through enhanced coordination among the military, police, and community-based vigilante group, underpinning by real-time intelligence sharing and rapid response protocols. We have streamlined business processes, digitalized permits, eliminate redundant bureaucratic hurdles, and establish a one-stop investment facilitation desk to accelerate project approvals. We are investing strategically in critical enablers, modern agro-irrigation scheme, rural and urban road networks, broadband connectivity, industrial parks, and decentralized renewable energy grids. But beyond policy and infrastructure, beyond data and dashboard, what Katsina State offers is something equally vital: the sincerity of partnership and the strong political will. We do not seek clarity, we seek for co-creation. We welcome not only those driven by return on capital, but also those moved by return on impact, those who see profit and purpose not as opposite, but as allies. To every visionary in this room, your decision to invest in Katsina State will do more than general evidence. It will transform lives. It will restore hope. It will build factories where there were fallow fields, create jobs where there was idleness, and ignite innovation where potential lay dormant. This, then, is our solemn pledge to you. Your investment will matter, measured not just in balance sheet, but in classroom bulls, clinic-powered, and livelihood uplifted. Your presence will be felt in the communities you touch, the supply chain you strengthen, and the ecosystem you help to shape. Your legacy will endure not as a footnote in an annual report, but as a cornerstone of a new Katsina State. Therefore, I urge you, engage deeply with the investment opportunities in it, challenges our assumptions, collaborate with our technical teams, align our shared ambition with our strategic goals. Let us build enterprise that outlasts political cycles. Let us create wealth that transcends generations. And let us prove once and for all that even visionary government meets committed private enterprise, even the most odious dream become a reality. On behalf of the government and the resilient people of Katsina State, hopeful people of Katsina State, I say to you, I welcome you to possibilities. I welcome you to partnership. I welcome you to a new dawn of shared prosperity. And I welcome you to the future of investment in northern Nigeria and in Nigeria in general. And I wish, on this note, to thank Mr. President for his reform initiatives, which gives subnational more funding to do their activities as we are doing in Katsina State. And I hope and call on you that this journey will continue tomorrow, and I hope that all of you will find time to be with us tomorrow. May the deliberation of this summit sow a seed of enduring collaboration. May our action today echo in the lives of the generations yet unborn. May Allah take you back to your various destination, and may Allah give us a lasting peace in our country.